Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. Thanks for coming back to the channel, troops. So, what are we doing today? What's this I've got in front of me? Why have we got this here? There's a reason. There's always a reason, you know that. Okay, so, I'll tell you why. We're now in December, as you can note. I have to put a bit of a jacket on so you can note. Right, we're in December, so Christmas is coming. Now, for me, especially when I was younger and my dad was still alive, over Christmas period, maybe on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, Boxing Day, somewhere around that period. Remember, we didn't have Netflix. All we had was the old telly box. And you had to watch what was ever on. There wasn't even videos when I'm that old. So, around the Christmas period, say on the Boxing Day, Mum had done all the cold meats and there'd be a war movie on. And we'd all sit down and watch a war movie. And it's normally a black and white one. There's lots of them. There's a Great Escape might come on, or the Dam Busters. Later on, towards the 70s, maybe A Bridge Too Far. But it'd always be a war movie on. And my favourite, one of my favourites, and many of you veterans out there will remember this happening around Christmas, ZULU would come on. The famous ZULU film with Michael Caine and Stanley Baker. Stanley Baker. Anyway, that movie would come on, and I always want to sit down and watch that. I've got the DVD now, I can watch it on Netflix. I've watched it a million times. ZULU really was one of my favourite movies. Anyway, that's why we've got this in front of us. Now, at first glance, you might think, yes, that's the rifle they used, the old Redcoats, the 24th of Foot B Company, the South Wales Borderers, but it isn't. What we've got here is a Nepalese Gehendra rifle. It's the same calibre as the Martini-Henry was, and outwardly at a glance it looks very, very similar. Most of the differences between this and the Martini-Henry that the British had is internal inside there. And I'm not going to go into the scientific bit about it because I don't know that much about it, to be honest. Look it up on Google. So there's differences inside, but outwardly it's very, very similar. I think there's a difference in the length of the lever here, the lever that cocks the firearm. And the sling swivel, that's slightly different. And on the Martini-Henry, on the outside on the flat here, would be a little cocking indicator. They all had that, and that would indicate whether the firearm was cocked or not. And when you pulled the trigger, you saw this little teardrop mechanism, button things fly forward. This doesn't have that. So, how did this come about? I'm not going to go into all the history because it's long and I don't want to bore you with it, but basically what happened was, the British, when we started to get friendly with the Gurkhas out in Nepal, we wanted to help arm them. We was worried about a Chinese invasion from Tibet, and so we thought that we'd better give them some firearms, but we didn't want to give them the latest stuff. And at the time we were moving on, so we gave them a couple of Martinis. And what they did, it wasn't enough for them, so they reverse engineered and they come up with this. And it's called the Gehendra because it's named after a general, a Nepalese general, Gahendra. So it's known as a Gahendra rifle. Now these were handmade, and they made thousands of them. And then as time moved on, instead of just getting rid of them and getting onto the newer stuff when they come into the British Army more, before the First World War, they just stuck them away in an old palace. They just bunked them in this palace in Kathmandu and left them. But they were covered in yak's grease and just dumped there. And that's where they stayed. And these were like rocking horse poo. You just couldn't get hold of them. However, an arms sales company, and I can't remember the name of it now, International Military Arms or something, IMA, they purchased bulk lot of these from the Nepalese, from the palace. And they literally came out and just flooded the market. And you bought them as they'd been placed in there, but nothing done to them. Some people were getting them with bits of wood missing or really decrepit states. This one is in reasonably good condition. It's never going to be used. I'm never going to fire it. It's an antique. And because they were handmade, the specifications of the bore and that, it would be really dangerous to try and fire it. It's not impossible. If you took it to a good gunsmith, I'm sure he could have a look at it and check it out, and maybe it could be fired again. That's quite possible, but I'm never going to do that. So this was the Gurkha replica of the Martini-Henry Rifle in a way. And as I say, famous rifle used by the British Army for many years. And and used in the film Zulu. And that's why I wanted to cover it today. And this is the example of it. You can see that it's a drop block. So you pull the lever at the bottom, and then in there, you'd slip your cartridge. You've seen it. If you watch the movie, you'll see them loading them up and shutting them and firing them off one at a time. Really, really good rifle for its day. You wouldn't want to hit with it. You wouldn't want to be hit with it. It's a big old bullet that come out the end of it. Anyway, that's the Gahendra Rifle. Linked to the Zulu film, linked to Christmas. That's the reason we've done this video. Okay, please, if you can, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm doing okay. I've got about 146 subscribers, and I thank you all for doing that. But please, if you can, subscribe to my channel. Look back at some of the other videos. There'll be more coming out as always. Try and subscribe if you can. Now, there's always one at the end. I always give you a top tabbing tip, top tabbing tip, top tabbing combat Zulu fighting tip. Now, there's an old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Now, whoever said that has never encountered automatic weapon systems. That's my top tabbing tip. Till the next time, troops, stay safe, keep warm, have a great Christmas, and